everybody. So today, welcome back to my MonsterVerse-A-Thon, where today we cover the most recent entry in the MonsterVerse, Monarch Legacy of Monsters. This show is overhated as heck. There are so many negative reviews that I've seen, and I think -1 has something to do with that because of the pure perfection that movie was. Nothing else slides for some reason. But for some reason, everyone went into this with the expectation that there will be tons of monsters, which, no, there won't. This is a show called Monarch, people. They always say, but it's called Legacy of Monsters. You're focusing on the wrong end of the title. It's Monarch. This show follows G-Day survivor Kate Randa and her brother Kentaro Randa as they team up with Lee Shaw to try to find their father and embark on several adventures. I admit that I prefer the 1950s plot, but that's not to say the 2015 plot wasn't good, because it was. It was fine. But the 1950s plot was better, in my opinion, because it shows the the origins of Monarch. It shows Castle Bravo, which was a plot hole, I guess. Well, not really. It was different from how it was portrayed in 2014, which is fine, but it still kind of irks me. And the 1950s plotline has some of the best characters. Lee Shaw, Bill Randa, Keiko, General Puckett. They were all great. Bill Randa especially. I loved his personality of the quirky conspiracy theorist. Anders Holm did such a great job portraying him. Same with Keiko. Marie Yamamoto did such a good job playing her. Those were the two standouts, but there's also Lee Shaw in both the 1950s and the 2015 plots. Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell knocked it out of the park with Lee Shaw. He's one of my favorite characters of the whole verse. And then there's Kate and Company, which they're good. They're overhated. Kate, I like. Her trauma was pretty sad. Kentaro Randa, he was a good character. Kentaro was good, but he was sidelined later on for some reason. The writers they didn't have any plots for him after his episode. And then there's May, which she was a decent. And then we have the monsters, of course, which I really liked Godzilla. Well, I really liked the monsters that they made up for this show, such as the Endopedes and the Frostvark and the Ion Dragon. They were all great. The Frostvark has to be my favorite, though, because it's a mammalian titan, for one, which we don't have many of those. Well, not anymore. We have quite a lot of mammals now, but it's a mammal that sucks heat so it can survive. It's like, is this a spoiler? I don't think it's a spoiler now, but it's like a reverse Shimo. It's basically using the wrong formula to get the correct answer. Instead of just altogether freezing things like Shimo, the Frostvark sucks in the heat and makes everything freeze, which is really neat and an original idea. And then there's the Endopedes, which they were just freaky in general. Even the babies were horrifying, but the big ones, the big Endopedes, were very scary. All those teeth. And then there's the Ion Dragon, the actual villain of the show, and the first monster Monarch ever discovered, according to this. I liked it. there's this minor nitpick that I have, which I've seen a lot of people have this same conspiracy theory, I guess. That the Ion Dragon from episode 10 wasn't always supposed to be an Ion Dragon. Because earlier in the show, they set up that it has, when it flies, it leaves trails of ionizing radiation. But in the final episode, it doesn't. And also, Lee and Keiko were both there, watching Godzilla fight the Ion Dragon, and you'd think the first monster they ever discovered, they'd have a bigger reaction to it than just, it's a monster, stare. But yeah, that nitpick aside, I really like the Ion Dragon. It kind of looks like a fish. I don't know if that was intentional, but it looks like an anglerfish, sort of, in its face, and it even has gills, if you notice. So, I don't know if that thing mutated, evolved from anglerfish or something, but it looks like a fish. And then, of course, we have Godzilla himself, which, as usual, I love him. He's absolutely, he's great, as always. I'm surprised at the amount of Godzilla we got in this show, because I didn't think we'd get a lot of him. Well, that's a bit of a lie, but... Okay, anyway. I liked the Castle Bravo scene, despite how horribly inaccurate it was to what 2014 showed us. The scene in the desert was amazing. And the final Ion Dragon fight, that was amazing. We finally have a fight that Godzilla won on his own. Well, he won against Kong on his own, but he didn't kill him, so that's not really, I'm not counting that. And then there's also Axis Mundi, which I'm fine with the existence of Axis Mundi. I would have preferred if they had just done the Hollow Earth and explained that the Hollow Earth portals, they're dangerous and they can throw you in time, like getting too close to a black hole. But no, they just had to create a time-dilated area of Earth, which, again, is fine. The Axis Mundi is cool and all, but I don't understand why it's necessary. And then, of course, there's that final scene with Kong on Skull Island, which the one thought I have for that is, this is kind of a negative. Kong looks sort of, his roar didn't have much depth to it, if you know what I mean. He wasn't like, it wasn't like your typical Kong roar. He just kind of opens his mouth and wobbles a little. The only negatives I can think of for this show are small nitpicky things. I already mentioned a majority of them, but there are two that kind of bugged me. First of all, the use of the word Titan in the 1950s plot. As we know, the term Titan wasn't created until post-2014. But they were using it in the 1950s. What they should have been saying was Muto. And then there's the fact that the Salesforce Tower was destroyed in San Francisco, which, that's not a huge issue because it's barely noticeable. But that thing wasn't built until 2018, so why would it be in a destroyed San Francisco in 2015? But that's just a small nitpicky thing. I really liked this show. I hope it gets a second season. And so, plugging it into the score, I'm going to give Monarch Legacy of Monsters an 8.5 out of 10. Join me next week, well, not next week, 3 days or so, when we finally reach our goal, Godzilla Kong, the New Empire.
Welcome to my